I'm Colin.
I'm Bradley.
I'm David.
And I am Connor.
Whoa!
It's our friend.
Yeah.
our friend.
Hello.
Welcome to, and Connor, I'd love to welcome you to Overarching.
And this is Overarching.
I've heard of
A
that.
podcast about our fair city, St. Loogie Magoogie. We're wearing the same
You
t-shirt.
guys are so cute.
It is adorable.
Do you want to be twinning with Colin and I?
People might not actually know that you're
Technically, it
wearing
would
the
be
same
like
t-shirt as me.
tripleting.
Yeah, you want one of these?
Do you want to form a triad
Get
with
one.
Bradley and Colin?
With our powers combined. Captain St. Loogie Magoogie. He's gonna take pollution absolutely nowhere. The left-hand promo.
Made those shirts.
They made these shirts. You know,
And these shirts.
yeah, they did.
And these ones.
You ever watch The Simpsons? You kids don't know what The Simpsons is.
They're still in the air, right?
Technically, you
These
could also
kids still
say
don't know what it is.
What the
Yeah,
Simpsons
no
are.
one's got cable
You
in
could
it.
You
also
know
say
that time when what's his face opened just the left-handed store.
Oh, yeah.
Ah.
This is nothing like that.
No.
This is T-shirts.
And sweaters and
They make
hats.
different T-shirts than these.
And merch.
Though. And merch.
And
So
paraphernalia.
if you need your merch done well and comfy, left-hand promo here on
Go
South
there
Jefferson.
first, then come across the street and buy a beer over at Greenfinch Theater.
Yeah. But
Oh.
that's it's
That's
optional,
the
but
logical order of operations.
That's highly suggested. But left-hand promo, get a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Cover your body. Left-hand promotion.
Nobody wants to see.
If you want this specific T-shirt, there is a link in our bio to purchase it from them, and they will mail it to you.
They'll
They
bring
will
it
do it
right
right
to
to
your
you.
house. They'll put it on for you.
As long as the USPS still exists.
Why did you have to start the show with a downer
Yeah,
like
yeah, way to
that?
bring the mood down.
Well,
Yeah.
Rip public service. Anyway,
Let's do the pledge.
let's say the pledge.
say the pledge.
All right.
You ready, Connor? I pledge allegiance to Gregory FX Daly, the one to whom we owe it all, and to our taxes, which we prefer to be spent on.
Give it all to Great Rivers Greenway.
Whoa!
Give it all to Great Rivers Greenway.
All of it?
Give them everything. Build a brick line on every street in the city.
All right. 1% to the god of yellow envelopes ignored by all.
That was quick. You were quick to that,
Dude,
Were you ready? Were you ready?
I
for
just
that?
prepped him a second ago
He-
while
he
you were
did-
in
Oh,
the
you did?
while you're in
God
the
told me
damn
to
it.
think about it, but they are the most effective infrastructure building organization
Oh, yeah.
in the region.
Aren't they?
They are on time, on schedule. They're great at communicating, and I just give them all of it.
I was gonna say truly, like the last time that I can think that of like any organization where I've seen a headline like plans to do X, and then like a little later it's like X is being completed. I'm like, wait a second, that was just.
But
That is somebody who we need to have Emma on the
Yes,
show.
you gotta.
We need to have Emma on the show.
But
Yes.
Market Street needed 3 lanes in each direction, and now I can't drive on Market
Isn't
Street
that such a
anymore.
bummer? Yeah.
Like anybody was friggin' using it anyway.
Yeah, I was using it to drive.
I was using it after anything at Chaffetz Arena. Were you really? You were likely not going east on Market Street after Chaffetz Arena. I know what you were doing.
You were getting on the highway.
You were getting on the highway.
and going back to Wildwood.
In your F-150.
Yup.
Yeah.
You know it.
Or your black SUV.
Did you know? And I do need to be fact check on this, but I am almost I would say I'm 95% sure that there is still a law on the books in the city of St. Louis outlawing the parking of pickup trucks on the street in St. Louis.
Oh man.
Is that really?
It's not enforced, obviously, but someone brought it up to me when I was still in the mayor's office, and I swear to God, it still exists.
This is going on my when I go crazy and run for mayor mayoral platform. Is
I'll do it.
enforcing that law.
There you go.
Don't tempt me
Yeah.
with a good
Don't-
time.
Yeah.
Well, Connor, speaking of you being in the mayor's office, real briefly before we get into all the stuff, for those who are unaware,
Yeah.
Connor, who are you?
My name is Connor Carrian. I formerly was the communications director for the city of St. Louis under Mayor Jones. Since then, since there was a new mayor and I was not asked to stick around fairly, I run a Substack social media account called Show Me Last Week. where I talk about Missouri and St. Louis politics and encourage people to get involved in their local democracy.
So you're like the John Favreau of St. Louis.
I hope not. The pod is not going to save St.
No.
Louis. It's not.
This is what he is.
As much as I respect you guys, the pod's not going to save St. Louis.
He's the overarching of St. Louis, but informed.
There you go.
Connor, what are you?
Ooh.
What am I?
Yeah, what are you?
Primarily a father. We had a child a year ago. Secondarily,
Yeah, idiots. Those guys don't have kids.
yeah, you guys should sleep less. And secondarily, I used to call myself St. Louis's second biggest cheerleader, right behind the mayor. And I think I try to keep that title. I try to be the at least the second biggest cheerleader of St. Louis.
Now behind Dennis Bogdanovich.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, he's the downtown mayor. That's
Yeah.
his. You
Right.
know.
Yeah, he's the mayor.
Yeah.
Connor, how are you?
Yeah, how are you?
Fantastic. I love hanging out in the basement that I used to buy weed in.
Yes.
This is great.
This is Wayne's World's basement in modern day
I swear
access,
to God,
public
I've
access
sat
television.
on this couch and bought mids before.
I mean, we did buy that
Fantastic.
on Facebook Marketplace. It
Yeah.
might have been
It
the
could have
same
been.
couch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that is actually the decor we're going for.
No,
Is-
it rules.
yeah.
This is
Yeah.
such a great. I love it.
We had an interior designer come in here, and we were like,
We
can you
want
give
Garth
us, like, a
Algar to
little-
show up.
The kid who lives with his grandma, but you don't have an explanation for where his parents are.
Yeah.
But he really loves St. Louis.
And I love that you guys
And
have
maps.
hosted now 2 mayors.
Yeah.
The city collector of revenue. Like, you guys have had like actual like city leaders sit on this dirty old marketplace couch. And
Oh, yeah.
talk, and it rules.
and
It's very
awesome.
It's very funny to us.
It's so good.
Like,
It's also a
with all due
pull-out
respect
couch.
to city leaders,
It's no joke. It is a pull-out couch.
we've talked about having Bradley not move over here because he usually sits there.
Yeah.
And just making him sit there.
just right in the middle.
Just like sink really far.
That would be funny to us. And you know what? I think it would be a vibe check.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know, if a city leader's just like, yeah, I'm down.
When you guys had Jones on, I prepped her in the car ride, and I was like, this is going to be different than anything you've ever done, and you just have to go with it. It's going to be a complete vibe shift from, like, you know, having to be like the buttoned-up mayor when you're, you know, hosted on, like, politically speaking or something.
Right.
You have to be
Yeah,
so.
we
I was like,
we wanted to see the real Tashana.
yeah, I was like, these are 3 dudes who love St. Louis making a podcast. Like, it's all going to be fine. You just got to go with it.
Yeah, I think she did great. Like, I think, like, for the first 10 minutes, she's a little buttoned up, but then, like, she finally relaxed. And
Yeah.
we learned something about her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned things about her that I didn't know.
There you go.
One more question, Connor.
Sure.
Why are you?
Ooh. Because St. Louis is rad, and everyone deserves to know that.
That's your whole existence.
Boo.
That's your whole existence.
No,
Damn it.
I'm
I think
trying.
it might be. I think it might have something to do with your
right. No, no,
parents,
no.
actually.
Yeah. At one point, they were together and they liked each other, and
When
then
they-
I came from that, and then
To when two people are near each other very much.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
As is told in Sunday school, you touch another person.
Well, hey,
Yeah.
you guys were just talking about having kids. You were the guys who brought up the you know
Truly.
the stuff.
What's that book? The Joy of Sex?
Ew.
Isn't that what the book's called?
We weren't talking about sex, David.
I don't read.
Or is
I can't read.
Is that a TV
It's
show?
crazy to bring up sex on the couch
that a
that you just
TV
told
show?
me is a pull-out couch.
Yeah.
I don't. There's a lot of undertones.
That is not
going
how you
on
get
here.
somebody pregnant.
Couch
Can you
and
believe
method.
Gregory FX Daily was the most recent guest on this podcast?
Yes, I can. He
And, you
is
know,
an absolute legend for playing along.
He.
with us.
Oh my God. The father of these 3 beautiful boys. I tell everyone that it's the funniest thing I've ever heard.
He is.
He is.
He is the father of us 3 beautiful boys.
Yeah.
He-
Yeah.
Sorry,
He made us on that couch.
Yeah.
That's who you bought it from on Facebook
Well,
Marketplace.
Well,
we wanted.
we bought it from Boulevard Heights.
Yeah, we wanted to get back to our roots.
There you go.
So, anyway, so
Sorry,
Con-
Dad.
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, Gregory FX Daily produced us asexually.
Yes, asexually.
There we go.
We,
Spoke us into being.
yeah,
Yeah.
we morphed from him. Connor has a very popular local segment.
You've seen his face.
You've seen his face. You've heard his voice. You've seen his face. The show is called the channel is called Show Me Last Week on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube,
and
Substack,
Yeah.
Parlor,
Not yet. Truth Social, obviously.
Truth Social.
Hold
He's
on.
getting out there truthing.
I have a question.
Yes.
I genuinely don't know anything about Parlor.
I don't think it exists anymore, does
No,
it?
I think it was. I
Did
think
it
it
go-
was the
did it go bust?
precursor to Truth Social.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah, it was the proto Truth Social.
We're bringing it back.
Okay.
Overarching's going right wing.
Yeah.
I hear that's where the money is.
We're assimilating to the rest of the state.
Yeah.
we go.
Over St. Charles Countying. Actually, no, they've been going to the left recently.
Dude,
Hey,
they're
yeah.
kind of doing
Over over Gasconade County.
over Gascon. Oy.
So we have a game for Connor.
'Kay.
That's an ode to his channel.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think it has a much snappier and more concise
Show
title.
Me Last
if you
Week
if you
is-
would
is
take a
too
bit of
long.
criticism.
Sure.
Our segment, which you could take if you wanted to, which I
Okay.
think you should,
Okay.
is called "Show Me the Last Time Anything Was Fucking Good." Show me the last time anything was fucking good. Show me the last time anything was fucking good.
Ridiculous.
Show me the last time anything was fucking good. Connor,
Yeah.
show me the last time the city made national news in a positive way.
Ooh, man. God, okay. I'm not brushed up. When did the city last make? It's been a lot
This is not looking good for St. Louis.
No, yeah, this is tough. I used to
Get back through the file.
I used to
And
get
we're
paid
cutting
with
the
your
segment.
tax dollars to know the answer to this question, and now I have no idea. But no, I think so. One big story, and I don't know if this is the last time, but when a year and a half ago ish, we made really good news because St. Louis's immigrant population was growing significantly, not just in the region but in the city. And we made news because it was one of the biggest jumps for a metropolitan city in the nation by like per capita, the number of immigrants moving into the city. And
It's
I think
such a good poll.
yeah, it was really great, and a ton of credit to Gilberto, who is the director of the city's Office of New Americans. So he stayed on for the Spencer administration, and that office serves as a coordinator for all of the different organizations in the region that have immigrant services and things like that. And so St. Louis actually does have a really significant immigrant population, both from the global south and from Europe. Obviously, a lot of there's a lot of Balkan culture here and all that. So that is something that sticks out to me is like something we really got to brag about is that St. Louis has a rapidly growing immigrant population, and I think that's great.
That's I have some intimate insider information in one particular classroom of St. Louis Public Schools, at least, I think when people say, "Oh, there's large immigrant population in St. Louis," people are like, "Oh yeah, the Bosnians," and it's like, yes,
But
it is shocking to I mean, like when my wife tells me about her student population in her classroom, I mean, like the languages that those kids speak are from 3 different continents.
Yeah.
And actually in that particular classroom, none of them are Bosnian.
Yeah.
Like she has kids from Africa, she has kids from South America, she has kids from different places in Europe, different places in Asia.
Yeah.
It really is like the diasporas that have come to St. Louis are
100%.
really, 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 diverse in the
Yeah.
truest sense. It's wild.
Yeah. It is a
It's
melting pot.
melting
Yeah,
pot.
it's a melting pot of a city, and you can see that in the culture. There's so many different like St. Louis is a food city, right?
Yeah.
I like
Yeah,
it
the
strongly
melting pot. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's
In town
Local-
and country.
Local business, the melting pot.
yeah.
yeah.
But that's not the answer we were looking for. Incorrect.
Okay.
No, just, no,
Say
The
it.
correct answer
You're good, though.
is that how we're doing? I like that. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
The correct answer is the other day.
like the other day,
yeah,
Connor.
the
What
Festus,
happened?
the Festus.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
of
okay.
the good people of Festus.
we made NPR headlines nationwide.
I was thinking about the city alone.
Uh,
Oh,
no,
good point.
So that's my
re-
bad.
Good point.
What city were we talking about?
We're done.
The city of Festus.
The city. Oh, right.
Yeah.
The city of Festus.
Festus.
Yeah, this is over 141.
right.
Anybody? That's not 141. You're thinking of Fenton.
Well,
Yeah.
it's over 141.
You're thinking of 55. My
This
friend.
is over 50. Yeah, 55. Over CC.
CC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crystal City.
which is where their data center was going to be and probably still will.
Probably still will.
But Festus said no, and they threw out their whole city council. Basically, they threw out every incumbent member of their city council.
It's beautiful.
Four of the 8 members were up for election, and all 4 of those members were part of the 6 members that voted for the data center that everybody in the city opposed, and they threw them out.
It's
and they're
gotta
also
have,
gonna,
like-
they're trying to recall the mayor too,
It's fantastic. Kara's like, hopefully taking that as a sign.
as a warning.
That's what I mean. That's what I had written about it, saying,
Right.
you know, hey, you can really learn something here. People,
set you up.
thank you so
There
much.
you go.
Read my Substack. But no, it's you hope that the administration takes a look and sees. Now the issue there is that Kara doesn't have to face the voters for another 3 years, and any recall effort. I mean, you have to get like 40,000 signatures to recall a mayor. I don't think she's going to face a serious challenge in that.
No.
She doesn't have to face the voters for another 3 years. And so the trick is, how do you keep that threat alive if they end up pursuing the Midtown data center in the city of St. Louis, right? Because that very much looks like that's moving forward.
Yeah.
They're having another Board of Public Service meeting today. The approval for the conditional use permit, and this is like so highly technical.
Oh yeah.
That's
But-
why people listen to this show.
Fantastic. The
people wanna know
issue.
technical.
The issue is for the Board of Public Service. They have to approve a conditional use permit for the data center in Midtown that is trying to get built. They've tabled that issue, but a tabled issue can be brought up with a simple motion. And so every Tuesday when the Board of Public Service meets, they could bring up the data center. And so it's like, how do advocates even stay on top of that? If it's like the middle of the day on a Tuesday.
Yeah, and they just like wait for like, oh, we have like not a lot of noisy opponents in the room. Let's pull that out.
Yeah.
It's almost like
Yeah.
the system is designed to circumvent the will of the people.
If only.
We were talking kind of off camera about like the and I would love your opinion on this.
Sure.
The big thing about not having a data center in town is, our electricity prices are going to go up. It's going to use all this water. On the flip side of that, it's like the only way Ameren is ever going to get new stuff built is by advocating for approval of stuff like this.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not me advocating for the data center. That is me saying, hey, maybe the way we build our infrastructure is broken.
Yeah.
Well, and like on that kind of like what if questions, like if the whole like AI bubble is something that's going to pop, is there like a strategy, like if we're going to bet on the AI bubble popping, then let's, get Ameren in on this highly speculative deal that's going to invest in the infrastructure, and and a few years later that data center doesn't, need all that juice, but now we have all this juice. Like, is that an optimistic lens that's realistic? Is that something we should be entertaining? Is that
a bad faith
is
thing?
that any,
At the risk of us being 4 white guys in a room talking about AI.
Sure.
Yeah.
On a podcast.
On a podcast. Yeah.
One thing that proponents of the data center will note is that there's already data centers in the city of St. Louis, which is true. There's plenty of data centers.
Yeah.
There's
Net-
a couple in
neutrality
downtown. Yeah. But the big difference is that the amount of data processing that will happen in this data center is leagues beyond anything any of the data centers existing in the city do. The problem is, I think you hit the nail on the head with like, this is all so speculative. We are believing Sam Altman that Sam Altman, the snake oil salesman. We're believing that
From
his
St. Louis.
Trust me,
technology
guys.
from St. Louis, that his technology is going to revolutionize the world, but it's also going to kill everything and destroy jobs. And it's like, that's so speculative. We can't put the city's like financial longevity into a speculative thing, and it's just, and the environmental issues absolutely exist. Now the one argument that I've heard that made me move slightly of like maybe there is an opening here was Mark Maxwell at KSDK, who I used to spar with a lot. He did a report with Niraj, who's our director of water in the city, and they talked about the city absolutely has the capacity to take on the water needs of a data center, and it would help if that data center was paying into the water infrastructure. And let me tell you, of all of the sleeping giants of like fiscal concern for the city, the water infrastructure is a massive one. We're talking
if anybody
Things are imminent.
like
if anybody's ever interacted with MSD,
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
falling
terrifying.
apart. Yeah.
It's I think Niraj said there's $700 million of improvements that need to happen in like the next decade. And so it's one of those sleeping giants. And so you say, okay, you know, how can we, so I'm opposed to the data center. I don't think we should build this data center in Midtown. They're going to build it. The Spencer administration wants this to happen. There's a lot of money behind the development. And so
People are getting kickbacks.
And so what you hope is that since they're not doing a ban on data centers in the city like we've seen in St. Charles and, you know, Festus, more power to them. I mean, what a beautiful example. of
And
just,
hopefully
like,
Franklin County with the Shaw Nature Reserve issue going on.
But it's if we're going to allow these data centers in the city, you have to hope that the administration is going to put as strict and like rigid of regulation on them as possible. Make sure they're paying into water. Make sure that they're paying into the electricity grid. But then, you know, Bob Clark held a press conference about the Festus data center.
because it was going to be his data center.
Well, the one in Festus, yeah,
It was
a
Clayco,
subsidiary of Clayco is building it. So Bob Clark,
Oh, it was building it.
yeah,
It wasn't it wasn't a data center for Clay.
correct,
No.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Bob Clark,
Why would they need a data center that big?
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, you know, everything's AI now.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
Including construction.
Including Bob
Yeah.
Clark.
Yeah.
Click my little 4-pointed star. Here's a crane.
but he's the CEO of Clayco. He also was a major financial backer of Kara Spencer. That is important to note.
Yeah.
You know,
the most public.
yeah. And he held a press conference because a subsidiary of his company is building the data center in Festus, and he tried to like clear the air, and he couldn't answer basic questions about like, well, what if you pollute the water? He's like, well,
Have you
I'll-
seen how much money?
Yeah,
Next question.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, again, Mark Maxwell asked him about like you'll have to self-regulate because right now the regulations coming down from the Trump administration allow you to basically self-check. How will we know that you're actually living up to your word
Right.
and doing things that are safe? And he said, well, I have an obligation to my children. And it's like, if I have to rely on Bob Clark's morals
Yeah.
to make sure my water isn't
Yep.
poisoned,
Uh-oh.
yeah, like
Yeah.
that's not.
And that's the thing too, where it's like I feel like so often, and this is like the same issue with like TIF and everything, where it's like, you know, the city often like is always like negotiating from a position of weakness. They're like, oh, we need your thing. Oh, you're going to invest so much. It's like,
please,
but like
please.
with the data center specifically being this like, you know, big, like just everything in Silicon Valley is like bluster and cash until something happens. So like, if we're going to accept the fact that this, you know, a bluster and cash facility is going to like come into our neighborhood, then like, let's push hard and for like really strong constraints, and just like, you know, if they're like, well, you know, we'll pay X% into your, you know, the electricity infrastructure, like, what about double that?
Yeah.
And see if they bought. Like don't say like, oh, that's like actually negotiate, actually ask for more, because like it's, you're not, you know.
Just to kind of wrap it up. I mean, it's the my wife and I call it the hypothetical witch. Like, what if like she came down and just like gave you a thing, and it's like, you know, what if? What would make a city vote 6-2?
Sure.
In spite of all of this obvious, like they especially right before an election, like this seems like the hypothetical witch scenario where it's like right before an election that is gonna affect their office that they're running opposed in, like they still vote for this extremely unpopular thing. What on earth would make somebody, how much money would it take for you to do something so stupid? This much.
Right.
Yeah.
It is that
Right.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what we're up against.
It
It
is
is
that
it is an unfathomable amount of money, especially for a city like Festus.
Yeah.
Like it's like, what is it? Like 10 times their city budget or something.
Yeah,
like it's insane.
It's
So
like
it's like, how
100
do you fight
wacky.
that? I don't know. But
It's like 100
we're
times
sure gonna
their
try.
city budget.
Question 2. Show me the last time the city made a transformational infrastructure investment.
I already talked about it. Great Rivers Greenway just opened the Brick Line Greenway segment at Market and Compton.
And now you can go from City Park to Chaffetz Arena.
Absolutely. So, so the Brick Line Greenway is it's supposed to be done by the year 2030, and it is going to connect the Arch Grounds to Forest Park to Fairgrounds Park
yeah.
and down to Tower Grove. Some of that is going to be city-built bike infrastructure, but most of it is going to be the Brick Line Greenway. And the really cool thing about the Brick Line Greenway is a lot of the financing is private, which is it's nice for people with the ability to give philanthropically, to give to infrastructure projects like that. But a big portion of it is funded through a tax that the city of St. Louis agreed to. So much like the earnings tax, back in 2000, the city agreed to pay a specific amount into the Brick Line Greenway to build this bike infrastructure. So I don't know if I gave the right answer, but
No, you kind of did.
Okay, that's my answer is no, not at all.
I know. I was trying to dunk on. Oh, never mind.
There's also the repaving of the major arterials. Is that?
That's good too.
The correct answer is bump outs.
Bump out.
Pedestrian bump outs. Bump outs. The only kind of infrastructure investment ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bump outs.
Yeah. It's like
Actually,
all they've ever done.
Those were recently in the news,
This
right?
is
That's
really
what we're
the
covering
correct
up.
answer.
Okay.
Pedestrian
really
bump
is
outs.
the correct answer.
There's been a concerted effort over the last several decades.
Yeah.
Feels like to put pedestrian safety infrastructure on our intersections. And Kara Spencer recently said, "Psych," and took 6+ out.
But look at all the things that she's done on Kings Highway, and look at all the things that she's done on Jefferson.
Yeah,
so,
she's out here
doing
putting
it right
medians
now.
in right now.
But I mean,
She's doing that.
Tashara didn't do any of that.
She's
work.
doing
we
that.
didn't. We had nothing to do with
She
that.
had nothing to. Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The investment. So if you live in St. Louis and you drive in St. Louis, which if you live in St. Louis you have to drive, unfortunately, you will notice that along all of our arterials there's repaving being done.
They're putting stuff in the way of my cars. It's stupid.
I know. They the major arterial repaving and infrastructure projects were started under Mayor Jones with ARPA dollars. So that was after the COVID-19 pandemic. Federal government gave out a bunch of money. We used that money to do infrastructure. Can I really quickly do an aside note about the Kings Highway one?
Yeah.
This is because it's my.
I knew you had it.
Dude, this is my favorite example of people forcing their government to do something.
Yes.
And actually changing the infrastructure. So when we were doing the planning phase for the repaving of the major arterials, so this is Jefferson, Grand, Kings Highway.
When Kara and you were doing it, yes.
Yeah,
and Kara Spencer and you were
when
doing
me and Kara got into a room together. No.
Yeah.
When the Jones administration and the city government was doing it, we had these planning sessions where we invited the community to come in, laid out these massive maps, which I know you guys are map nerds.
Yeah.
Laid out these
I was there.
massive maps. Yeah.
I was there.
Laid out
This
these
is a
massive
family
maps
show.
and gave people Post-it notes, and you could say, "Hey, I'd like to see this."
I did this with the Green Line BRT recently.
Yes.
With one of those
Yeah,
meetings, you know.
It's a really cool thing, but on the Kings Highway one, the overwhelming feedback from the community was that the stretch on Kings Highway at Tower Grove Park was unsafe for pedestrians. There's a school there that crosses into the park.
Yeah.
And it's a 4-lane
bad.
highway in
Yeah.
the middle of the city. And they said, you need to make this safer. You need to make this safer. And now, if you drive along Kings Highway, you will see that there is traffic calming, like actual infrastructure, physical things built.
Yeah.
Where they reduced the lanes and they put up a bunch of infrastructure to make it safer for pedestrians. And that was fully based on feedback from the community.
But Connor, now I have to drive slower.
Isn't that such a bummer?
Yeah.
Doesn't that
It's
stink
going to
that
take
you
you
actually have
15 seconds longer.
to... Yeah.
Yeah.
And I drive that route once a week at least because I go to Civil Life before my Dungeons and Dragons game on Tuesdays. And
Nerd.
yeah, hey.
Yeah,
And
he likes craft beer.
it's like it's the it's the thing I'm like proudest of from my time in government is that like we held these community sessions. People said we want you to change this, and it worked. And we changed it, and now that stretch
You're
is
making me
safer
cry.
for pedestrians, and And I was bragging. I do remember I was bragging about it to my barber once, and she was like, "Oh, I hate it now. It takes so long." And I was like, "Too bad."
Yeah.
Hold on, you want to
Too
do the
bad.
most St. Louis thing? Who's your barber?
I'm not going to say because they are technically just outside of the city limits.
That's
no
just
wonder
on
they
you.
don't like.
That's
no
on
wonder
you.
they don't like.
I know.
That's on you. That's
I go
not
out
on
to
them.
the county for my haircut.
Ooh. That's why he wears a hat.
Boo this man.
It's actually because my barber was out for a little bit, and I haven't gotten a haircut in like 4 months. So that's why I have a hat on today.
Me too.
Me neither.
Just
Bradley, what
for
about
my-
you?
Yeah, when's the last time you got a haircut? Yeah.
Speaking of infrastructure, I do have a confession to make, not to get us potentially.
Yeah,
down
let's
a rabbit
definitely go
hole.
to the next question.
Well, I want to bring this to the room just because I'm having feelings.
Oh.
I think the rail or nothing people are getting to me. I think I'm changing my mind back.
Oh, I've been fully converted.
You're in
To rail or
support-
nothing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think
yeah.
like I was willing for a while to, and shout out to I want to say his name is Jeff Zinn.
I don't know.
Yeah, Zinn something on Instagram for like being a
comments.
troll in the
Yeah,
freaking
yeah.
comments and it's
Somebody
actually,
was
I don't
being
want
like-
to
I
encourage
am-
your behavior,
Man, I've been
but
fully
like
convinced.
I think for a while I was willing to give the Kara administration a chance on, because I do
Yes.
still hold this belief that it's like I care way more about the service than I do about the medium.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And I was willing to give the Spencer administration a chance to prove that they were actually like she was actually speaking in good faith and acting in good faith about like wanting to do something quicker, cheaper that serves more people.
Sure.
And I don't think I think that anymore. And I think the dissenting voices to that are right. We voted for a rail. We voted for a rail extension. That's a permanent thing. I mean, and I do think there is a short-sighted, thing to be had about the other side of it too. It's like BRT is not just a bus route. It isn't.
That is exactly what I'm.
There
stuck
are
on.
zero examples of rail being put in, not like the loop trolley, like in a real
That's not
way.
rail.
Right.
Yeah.
A way that is an extension of your city's metro infrastructure. There are zero examples of that happening in the United States in recent memory where development has not followed in a positive way.
Absolutely.
There are several examples of BRTs that have went in and nothing happened.
And honestly, it's been like Cleveland has a
Cleveland
BRT
Heartline.
line.
Yeah, so that was exactly what I was going to say.
And-
Cleveland Heartline is kind of like,
And there have been places that have burgeoned from those lines. The vast majority of its economic impact on the city, is mid at best,
mid at best. Yeah.
and it will continue to decrease over time
right.
as
the one thing I'll say
the
is
lack
like
of
what
development around it.
what a BRT will do
Isn't there.
is accomplish the hardest step on the way to rail, which is like getting the right of way.
Yeah.
But like, or we could just do it.
Your point is the most like we voted for rail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, obviously every criticism I have of the Spencer administration comes with a grain of salt that I was in the previous administration, but there's two examples of this since Spencer has become mayor of just like disregarding what the voters said.
I mean,
The
she overturned it like literally her first day in office.
Right. The first is the Green Line, which the federal landscape is very different. I will say Pete Buttigieg was like very, very helpful when he was transportation secretary. He was part of a cohort with Jones at some government thing a while ago, so they knew each other, and he was really helping us like push the Green Line towards completion. And without, with the new federal administration under the Trump administration, it's much less realistic. So I understand that argument, but we voted for rail. And the other example of this is when the Board of Aldermen voted to sell Interco Plaza, which is where is where Show Me
Yeah.
Last Week kind of like where my platform really blew up a little bit was
We knew about you before that.
the voters of St. Louis a while ago passed something that said you can't sell a city park without bringing it to the vote first. And the Spencer admin and the Board of Aldermen did this clever little legal workaround where they said, well, Interco Plaza technically isn't a park because there's not an ordinance creating it as a park. There's 108 108 or 110 parks in the city, less than half of them have an ordinance defining them as a park. So according to the Spencer administration and the Board of Aldermen, they can sell any city park that doesn't technically have an ordinance. And at the Board of Aldermen, you can overturn an ordinance with 10 votes. So what they said was, we know that you guys voted to say that we can't sell a city park without your approval. We're going to do it anyway. And we found this clever little legal workaround. So there's two very big examples of them being like, we do not care what the voters said. We're going to do this thing that is beneficial to developers.
And well,
And that's it's a reflection of some of like just the national landscape. There's like the fear around what's going to happen, what can happen to our public lands when someone doesn't care about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's like, it's the kind of thing where like, if we lose public lands, we're not getting it back.
well, and to bring it back around to transformational infrastructure, it's like, why not use evil mechanisms for good? What the Spencer administration, I think, has proven to me, and honestly, it's at least the ethos that's brought me back around to being like rail or nothing, and this is a national attitude as well. It is obvious that if you really want something to get done, you can find a way to get it done. So I don't want to hear about, there's not the population versus the tax it doesn't equal our magic number that we need for a federal grant. No, if you want to lay some rails in the road, if you want to take the right of way, you can.
We have proof that it is working in one of the most dense, like being able to get stuff done that you said you were going to do.
They're literally
and
laying a median in the
Mamdani's
road right now.
first 100 days in office has just done even more than he was said, because he built. There's 5 people on his cabinet that he brought in that are just insanely heavy hitters about finding ways.
Yeah, it's Project 2025, but for good.
Back to the rail thing too, just like like the infrastructure of American politics is to like make things move, like is to design to make things move slow. So like if the thing that makes rail expensive is like the planning and the regulation and all this stuff, then like, not to be a fascist about it, but eschew the regulation, you're gonna get sued. But while you're tearing things up in court for another several decades, at least we have a trade.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how entirely for that I am, but I'm not for it.
I'm not for it.
Connor,
Yeah.
show me the last time the Missouri state legislation has done anything with the city's interest in mind.
Oh, I think that's going to be really, really hard to find. The state legislature for decades now under Republican rule has worked so strategically to kill off Kansas City and St. Louis in like very real ways. They are trying to remove funding from the cities. They are trying to basically use state legislation to kill the city and then say, look, the Democrats don't know how to run a city. That's their whole thing. We everyone who voted for the earnings tax, thank you. The only reason you have to do that every 5 years is because the state legislature is trying to kill the city of St. Louis.
Yep.
And so, but the way that the claim that they have that they care about the city of St. Louis is the police takeover that happened.
And that is the correct answer.
Yes, that one, that one I'm very intimately involved with. This is my 3rd year in a row fighting against this.
Against it?
Against the state takeover.
Oh, we're for it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, the correct answer was that was the last time the state
they
legislature
did. That's
anything
good.
good.
Yes.
Because
Obviously,
because
what the hell are you
crime is
reading?
at
I'm in a
all-time
hostile
highs.
environment.
Yeah.
Obviously, the city cannot keep its police together,
Right.
Despite
like-
raises and hiring more police
I mean,
officers.
because like
and
if you think about it,
crime
like
being
has
lower.
the when the city was actually in control of its own police
when the city
department-
was great again.
when the city was in charge of its own police department, like crime was going through the roof year after year, right? Am I right?
During Tashar's mayorship, it went up and up and up year over year over year.
I got
right?
shot every day.
Yes.
Yeah, every day.
Raccoons pulled a gun on me.
Tashara shot me every day.
My favorite.
I'm sorry.
My favorite claim from the state takeover stuff was, they're defunding the police. And it was like, well, no, actually, under Jones, the police budget went up every year. There was never any defunding of the police. So they switched it to, well, there's an ethos of defunding the police.
What does that
Like,
mean?
that doesn't
Oh
mean
my
anything.
God.
And so
What does that even
They
mean?
don't know what the word ethos means.
right, they're like, there's an attitude of defunding the
like
police.
there's a
It's like,
vibe.
no, man, every year we gave the police more money. They
Who
got
said that? Sorry, that was involuntary. But for real, who said that?
Brad Christ, who was
Of
the
course it
There he
was!
is. There he is.
Friend of the show, Brad Christ. Oh my God!
As we like to say, sullying.
the family name.
Yeah.
Brad.
Producer Ashley here. You might notice a different audio quality for the rest of this episode. Unfortunately, Colin's microphone was compromised by the lizard people. It's either that, or there was a bad connection to the recorder. Anyway, enjoy the rest of the show.
And the claim was that Jones defunded the police and crime went up, and both of those, the opposite is true. Violent crime, all types of crime were going down, and the reason for that is because we were building infrastructure around the police department to do preventative work. So there was the Office of Violence Prevention, which was started using ARPA dollars.
Mental health. Like,
Yeah, the funding was going towards prevention because police don't prevent crime. They show up after the fact.
Preventative maintenance doesn't work. I'll tell you that.
And so the theory was that if you get into the communities where the violence is happening and you disrupt that violence by giving people opportunity, then you can have crime go down. And that was proven. It was we did it. It was working. And then, but the state has wanted to take over the police department since 2013, since the people voted to get it back, right? And now that they've done that, the entire they're coming after the entire city budget. It is simply a way to steal money from the taxpayers of St. Louis, make the city less safe, and then say, oh, they don't know how to run their own city. And, at the end of this, so the Board of Commissioners, there's such a long backstory there with, the budget demands, and now the Spencer administration is finally suing. But what they believe they are entitled to is around $333 million for the police department. That's what they say they're entitled to according to the letter of the law. And
Isn't that like a third of our entire budget?
it's an absurd amount because they're claiming that things like the Ram settlement money, they're supposed to get a portion of that.
Yeah, and that's I will agree with Kara on this. That she came out and was like, that is absurd.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's.
Could you imagine, use a third of your savings account to fund 1 year of the police?
And let's give
Right.
credit where credit is due for Kara suing the state.
Absolutely. I
Like,
will
even
say,
though
it's
Tashara did
later-
it first.
Yeah.
Yes. Tashar did it first.
Tashar did it first. Absolutely. Megan Green has kept the fight going in the courts this whole time.
Yep.
And I at first I understood. You have to realize that the Spencer administration, there's only one person in her administration who's ever had to deal with the state government, and it's her chief of staff. Her chief of staff is drowning trying to run the city. And so no one, I truly believe that Kara Spencer believed, I can work with these Republicans at the state level. And you have to realize these are not statesmen, they're psychopaths. The Republicans in Missouri they are insane people. They cannot be negotiated with. It's like negotiating with
They're
terrorists.
Floridians that have come north.
100%.
hey,
Hey. I listened to this podcast enough to know that was a shot at you.
Maybe
I
it,
didn't
maybe
hear
it
that.
wasn't.
no, I'm one of the good ones.
But at the beginning, I think she truly believed, maybe I can actually work with these folks. You can. And, one thing that I did last month is I testified in front of the Board of Aldermen. They were passing a resolution.
Roll the quits.
Yeah.
I do come to you with a specific request that the mayor's administration pursue active litigation by suing the Board of Police Commissioners and the state of Missouri over this budget.
But I said the administration needs to sue the state and the Board of Police Commissioners. My belief was you need to sue to at least get confirmation on how much is general revenue, because the Paul Payne, the budget director for his city, said it was this much because based on this portion of general revenue. The Board of Police Commissioners was like, every dollar that the city has ever seen, we get 25% of it. And it's like, well, that's insane and completely unsustainable. So I said, you have to at least sue to get clarity on what is the percentage of the general revenue fund that the Board of Police Commissioners is entitled to. Because right now you're negotiating in the margins of an Excel document, and that's just completely unsustainable. And so now they are suing to get a judge to say this is the percentage based on the state law that should go to the police department. It's far too late on that. And they should have done this. They should have at least done the clarifying lawsuit much earlier. And the Spencer administration has sued the state for clarification purposes before. The Spencer administration sued the state to determine who gets to pick the next sheriff of the city after Alfred Montgomery was removed from office. So they know that lawsuits are a vehicle to negotiate without it being like an adversarial thing. It's like for clarity purposes.
Yeah.
And they waited too long. Now, she is finally sued. They're also suing to say that the entire takeover is unconstitutional, which I agree with. I don't think that one's going to be successful. But I do think at the very least the clarifying lawsuit will help us to be like, hey, you guys you're way over your skis and asking for way too much money from us. In their perfect version of the city of St. Louis, there is a police officer, an overflowing garbage can, and a pothole on every corner. Yeah. And then they can drive their F-150 directly into Busch Stadium, go watch the Cardinals, never interact with a city resident, never support a local business, and then drive back out to West County. Like, that's their version of the city of St. Louis that they want, and we can't let them do that. But people live here.
Genuinely have a question for those people. If that is the greatest version of your life, you are boring.
And sad.
You are so sad. Like, if that is genuinely like the best thing you can think up, it's like, you know what? I want to spend an hour and a half of my day in a car to park and get angry and be angry in my car at all times and just be in a mentally unhealthy state for about 2 to 3 hours of my day to have a little bit of enjoyment to watch the Cardinals currently lose. And then you're wondering why you're so upset about the city. It's not you're upset about the city. It's the fact that you spent so much time in your goddamn car.
Yeah, and it's like if you have a differing political or value statement view than any of us, great, but like take a moment to interrogate that and say like, what do I want the world I live in to look like? And do my political ideologies and the outcomes from that actually support that? Because I think a lot of people are just getting like, you're getting wrapped.
That's critical. That's awesome.
I wrote a whole thing about it once, but like, I think it's capitalism's, but also I think conservatism's chief export is loneliness.
Yes,
and
100%.
And it's like, I think the difference is like, and this is I'm gonna say something, not this shit.
And then let's move on to the next segment.
The fact of the matter is that like the world that the Missouri conservatives who live out yonder actually want, not culture war stuff, like their day-to-day, what they want their life to look like, fits inside the world that we want our world to look like. But it's not true the other way.
Sure.
So which one is the oppressor here?
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to, right?
Super good point.
Is like, we have a party in power in the state whose world does not include, and I'm talking in a room, 4 straight white guys. By proxy that we are progressives, we are the least included in this, but somehow still included.
Yeah.
And when it includes us, it's bad. Like, that doesn't include us. That doesn't include progressives and everybody else that's more marginalized than we are, which is almost everybody.
Yeah. Best thing that ever happened to Mo Ledge was the tornado ripping through North City.
Yeah.
Best thing that ever happened
gave
to
them
them.
so much more power over the city than they already had.
And they smiled on May 16th.
Yeah. But also,
think about that.
To your point about spending an hour and a half in your car, the best quote I've ever heard, and this goes back to our conversation about rail and public transit, riding public transit shows you that most erratic behavior is not violent. Driving in your car convinces you that everyone is trying to kill you. And like, it's so clarified. Like, I used to live in Chicago and I didn't have a car. I was on the CTA all the time. And you realize like, if someone's acting erratic, they're probably not going to affect me. Like this is, but when I'm in the car, I'm terrified constantly.
Yeah, somebody's one wrong decision can end your life.
Yeah, and I know we got to move on to the next segment. Yeah.
It's okay.
I talk a lot about downtown because I'm downtown every day. I walk for at least 2 miles downtown every day, bringing my kid to daycare and back. And people comment on my posts, and they're like, "Oh, I would never go downtown. I don't want to get hit by a bullet." I can tell you right now, as someone who is downtown most of the time, I'm not worried about crime. I haven't like witnessed crime downtown in any real way.
Bullshit.
I'm terrified of drivers.
Yeah.
As a pedestrian pushing a stroller downtown, my head is on a swivel, especially because my kid's in the stroller. Like,
You are hitting on a point that I want to talk to more people about in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Like new parents that deal with public infrastructure and how I think all new parents should get together in a room or just get together online somewhere, because we are the most angry at public infrastructure for the safety of our children.
100%.
We are now like everybody our age and everybody that is having kids our age right now are like, I want all cars to burn in hell.
Yeah.
Every single one of us.
Yeah. There's a ton of 3,000-pound death machines speeding around
Don't talk
as
about-
I'm trying
don't
to
talk
push my
about me
kid
that way.
to daycare. Yeah.
And here's the thing. I've heard that phrase before when I was in high school from one of my social studies teachers, but at the time she said 2,000-pound death machines.
Good job, Bradley. Great quote.
They're 50% larger, but the truck beds are smaller.
Yeah.
St. Louis just got a new CEO of branding or whatever for Greater St. Louis.
Explore St. Louis. It's okay that you mix them up.
Are they
Correct.
different things, and how?
They are
Yes,
different things.
They are technically different
And how?
things.
But are
However, there is a common thread, which is all of the people doing the messaging for Explore and for Greater St. Louis are not from St. Louis.
I am so
The-
excited to get into this segment.
The new chief marketing officer, I believe, is the title for Explore St. Louis, which Explore St. Louis is the tourism agency.
Okay.
Their job is
The region.
they're not.
The
It's
region.
not like a taxpayer funded thing.
No.
But it is for the region. They
for,
are
for the greater St. Louis area.
There you go. So Explore St. Louis is the tourism bureau that's trying to bring people into the city of St. Louis. They're a PR firm for tourists. Their new chief marketing officer is from Wisconsin. And then Greater St. Louis Inc. is, think of it like the St. Louis Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
They represent the businesses.
I have not explained it like that, but that is the best way to.
Make St. Louis Greater St. Louis again.
There you go. They recently hired a firm from New York to help them figure out how to market St. Louis. But you see, like they interviewed with some local stations. They interviewed via Zoom because they're in New York, and you see them talking about St. Louis like this quaint little quirky town that they're gonna really pick up, and like they don't understand the city at all.
Yeah, we're not Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Yeah, it's they're like, there's so much to offer here, and it's like, yeah, we know that, but like. You have all of these folks who are not from St. Louis, who do not live in St. Louis or haven't lived in St. Louis,
Who haven't explored St. Louis.
who haven't explored St. Louis, and they're the ones who these groups are saying, oh, help us learn how to sell St. Louis to tourists and to businesses, and I don't think that's the right path forward.
Please help us make St. Louis minimum viable product.
Yeah. It's very much the like number crunching, like here's the message that we have poll tested and believe will get more, and it's like you don't understand the city at all.
So
no,
what,
but they are getting us more clicks.
what I wanted to bring this into being for is because if we let these guys have their druthers, and I'm not saying that they don't have some good ideas. They do. There are some good ideas that they're putting together to bring in some pretty good projects to St. Louis that I'm excited about. But for the vast majority of it, they are going to PE St. Louis. Okay? They are going to private equity St. Louis.
Right.
Right.
MVP.
Most valuable private equity. No, my point is St. Louis has, and this is what we're going to get into our branding pitches here for St. Louis. St. Louis has, like, comparatively to other Rust Belt cities and Midwest cities, and honestly most cities in the United States of America, we have the ability to be mom and pop more than pretty much every other city in America. And we do not want to private equity our city when we have this insane ability to be mom and pop for a long time, where we can bring more people to this city who want to do that in a place in America.
Mom and pop doesn't mean quaint little how you doing shop. Mom and pop means like a real ass business in the community.
We are in St. Louis writer room / pitch meeting for how we can go about branding St. Louis. Colin, begin.
St. Louis, your wife lives here.
I need you to go more into that because it actually is probably the greatest thing we have come up with.
Your wife lives here.
Even if you don't live here yet and you're not married.
Oh, okay.
Your wife lives
This is for people who are seeking a female.
This is why Wayne Gretzky's a St. Louisan.
Yeah.
That's very true. Yeah. It's also why I'm a St. Louisan. We came here because my wife, for my wife's residency program, we moved to St. Louis.
St. Louis, your
My
wife
door genuinely lives here.
That rules. I'm in.
Okay.
Pitch meeting over. We're done. I'll see you guys later. We solved it.
St. Louis. Everything you've heard about us is true.
St. Louis, we'll show you.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's good, isn't it?
That is good.
That's good.
St. Louis, we're not the county, and that's okay. When I was the comms director for the city, I used to have these like messaging meetings with people from Explore, people from Greater St. Louis, people from the county, from like the development groups and things like that. And what always came up was like, well, how do we convince people living in Chesterfield to come downtown? And it's like, you're probably not gonna convince people living in the suburbs unless they're coming for a game or something.
So glad you're bringing this up.
Yeah, like the attitude is just not there. And so what Explore and Greater are trying to do right now is like, we need to have a national and international brand. It's like, no, you need to be talking to people who will drive like 2 hours to get here.
Yeah.
Not people who are in the county and have a preconceived notion of the city, but people who are looking for like a weekend getaway.
Yeah.
Like that's the tourism that you should be looking at. And that's not, they're like, no, we need to have an international brand.
We need to Bloomington normal St. Louis. St. Louis is it's north, south, east, and west.
No, St. Louis, it's south and west only.
Nah, it's all of them. It's all
Louis,
4 cardinal directions, and it is all 4 seasons. All of it.
St. Louis is the most Midwestern southern city and the most southern Midwestern city.
And it's the most southern northern city.
Yeah. It is
the most western eastern city and the most eastern western city.
We're in the middle of everything.
We are.
Truly.
St. Louis, we have both political parties, progressive and racist.
St. Louis, we sued the NFL.
And won.
Kind of.
Big dub.
Continuing on.
We settled.
We said, okay, ready? St. Louis, the settlement city.
St. Louis, settle here.
St. Louis, settle down.
There you go.
St. Louis, yes, those were gunshots. This is America.
St. Louis, no, really, was fireworks. This is Missouri.
But why are people shooting off fireworks? It is fireworks so often.
It is.
And like it's September 8th. Like, calm down. Like,
I know.
Why are we shooting off fireworks? But St. Louis, there's a lot to celebrate.
St. Louis, people live here.
Yes.
People
You know,
live here.
I think like that's like one of the like I say this about neighborhoods all the time. You know, whenever someone has like a just like I mean because like crime is dehumanizing language. Like all the trappings. Like whenever people like are worried about crime, it's like
Right.
What are you imagining when you're saying that? No, like people live there. So, and I think from on a national scale too, is like, what is your image of St. Louis? It's a place where people live.
Yeah. Not only that, but one of the pitches, and I've been trying to consolidate it in my head, but like in other cities, so like I used to live in Chicago. Every time I left my house, I was spending $40 on something. You leave and you're spending money. In St. Louis, so much of what you want to do with your weekend is free. Mm-hmm. Like Forest Park is free. The art museum is free. Downtown, the arch grounds are free. Like, I don't think enough people realize how inexpensive it is to have fun in this city.
Right. I think when people talk about cost of living, they're like, oh, yeah, like, rents and housing prices and whatever.
Yeah.
And like,
No, it's daily attributes.
Daily living your life is...
I think that Greater St. Louis and Explore St. Louis are going to be pushing that vehemently. Like, it's cheap. It's all those things. And, like, that has been resonating for years to come. And there is so much that I want to move away from that almost.
Sure.
And I think, like, in conversations with our friend Austin, our mutual friend
Yeah,
Austin.
yeah.
And we need to get him in this room.
Yeah.
The political city hall beat writer for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch.
Truly, like the bellwether for good city reporting in the city.
He's a wonderful human being.
He's one of the smartest reporters I've ever worked with. He knows his stuff.
We had been talking about how St. Louis, and this is one of the reasons why I leaned into like everything you've heard about us is true. Everything, lean into the fact it's like, yeah, everything you've heard about us is true. Lean into like, yeah, okay, we're gritty, and
we've said
okay,
this,
stuff happens here. But
we've
let me
talked
tell you
about
this,
like
stuff happens here.
Yeah.
Like you can get
Nothing
stuff done
Nothing
here.
happens in Kansas City. It's
Nothing
just
happens
shiny.
in Kansas City anymore because private equity bought it all up. Westport used to be a cool place, and now it's private equitied. Nashville has completely been private equitied. Charlotte, Austin, Denver.
But
These are all private
you were talking
equity
the other day,
cities now.
like
They've
places-
become boring
places-
and completely soulless.
Yeah,
St.
but-
Louis
but-
has a soul, dude.
Well, and you were comparing us like to like Philly. Like Philly
Yes.
has this like dirty,
Philly has this
grimy,
dirty
image,
soul, and
but
it's
but
beautiful.
but it is this like attractive image,
Dude,
still.
yeah.
It's so good. And
I-
people need to move here and live here and work here and visit here because you are going to see that the griminess of St. Louis is character. What you are looking for in your life is meaning and conflict. Without conflict, there is no meaning.
St. Louis is as good a place as any to find the meaning of life.
And
But the question I had that you might be answering this already
Yeah.
is like, because you brought the like, oh, like the everything's free, everything's cheap. Like that feels to me so much like a great justification for why someone stays here. But like that's messaging for the people who live here. What's the messaging that's like? What's the difference between messaging for people who live here and messaging for like that's going to attract people?
Yeah, and again, I think it comes down to who you're trying to speak to, right? And I think St. Louis, we need to take this in increments, which is like so. I was at an event that the zoo had. I can't even remember. It was some light up. The zoo does a bunch of cool stuff. The zoo also free, and we ended up talking to this couple that was from Iowa. And they were like, we come to this event in St. Louis once
Animals
a year. and
Aglow.
Yeah, I think it was Animals Aglow. And they were like, we come, we drive the hour and a half to St. Louis once a year for this event, and we love it. We come to the zoo, and then we go to the park, and we do this. That's who, when you're talking about tourism, like stop trying to get people from the coast and like talk to the regional folks who are going to come to St. Louis and enjoy a weekend with their family.
Right.
That's who we need to be messaging
Because we don't want to
to
be Vegas. We don't want to be Broadway on in Nashville.
Right.
But I kind of I agree with that, but I also disagree with the other part because it's like I'm a guy from the coasts, and it's like our generation, especially the childless the childless among us, the fact that St. Louis is an affordable place where you can do all the things that you were doing anyway, but for less money. And you can actually I wouldn't have been able to start a small business and run a nonprofit in Chicago. Like I came here and realized, hey, even though I'm poor, I can still get stuff done. And it's possible. Because St. Louis is, for the time being, cheap. Yeah. So people coming here en masse would probably ruin that. But
I got it. It's the kid from Angels in the Outfield, isn't it? It's possible.
God, if there is a God,
isn't it? Isn't his line it's possible, or what's his line? It could happen.
It could happen.
That's the St. Louis.
Yeah.
St. Louis. It could happen.
To your point of that's messaging for people who we want to come and stay here. And I think when it comes to talking to the people who we want to stay here, one thing that I find incredible about St. Louis and has been kind of the whole project of Show Me last week is how much people can actually influence their government here. St. Louis is small enough that with enough people in a room, you can push the government in a direction. That's the whole reason that I do what I do is because I want to show people democracy demands participation, and St. Louis is the perfect place to participate in your democracy because you can affect change here. You can make things happen with the right strategy, with the right group of people. I mean, the bike and pedestrian activist community, like
St. Louis urbanists,
the St. Louis urbanists, Kara Spencer is going to regret taking those bump outs out.
Yeah.
And they are going to make her regret that because in St. Louis, you can put pressure.
It's like we're almost a minor league baseball team where you can sit in the front row and talk to the guy on deck
100%.
and just be like, "You're gonna whiff, dude."
Yeah.
Connor wants to show us last week
Yes.
and democracy.
There you go.
If you are not following Connor on any of his platforms, you're making a mistake, buddy.
Thank you for this. I need you to know, St. Loogie Magoogie has pushed itself into my vocabulary,
And it will stay there forever, my friend.
I always tell people drive safe in St. Louis, but every once in a while I find myself going drive safe in St. Loogie Magoogie, and then people are like, "What is that from?" And I'm like, "You have to listen to Overarching.
Send us out. Point to it.
You have to listen to Overarching and drive safe in St. Loogie Magoogie."
There it is. This was Overarching. Overarching is recorded at Fly North Theatricals in, as Connor said, sunny South City, St. Loogie Magoogie, now available on your body. Our producer is Ashley Seidel. Logo designed by JP Burks, a.k.a. Scrub. Follow us on social media at Overarching ST Lewis. And if you're not watching this on YouTube, you should. And if you are, how about you remove that subscribe button and like it because your donors called you in the middle of the night and told you to do that.
Oh.
I'm Colin.
I'm Bradley.
And I'm Connor.
And this was Overarching.